During a Black Lives Matter march in the French town of Lyon, as the police used tear gas and water cannons to push anti-racist protesters out of Belco Square, I and a few other photographers were left behind in between the police line and the protesters. As the tear gas was getting thicker, we could only hear what was happening. On one side, the screams of the people suffocating in the cloud of chemicals, and on the other, the sound of the boots and the water truck rapidly approaching. I was both terrified and fascinated by this dreadful spectacle. Then, out of the blue, an officer pushed me, telling me to get with the others. This was one of the first major protests since the beginning of the lockdown in March 2020. My name is Laurentiu Vlad, and I'm a Romanian immigrant living in France. I'm 18 years old, and I've been doing protest photography since I was 15. I started during the Yellow Vest uprising in 2018 in France. I just wanted to show people I knew what was happening on the field, because they wouldn't really believe me, and what the mainstream media would show would be mostly politicians, chief of police, and some people that weren't on the field to see what was actually happening. And I thought it would be interesting to give a voice, a platform to, well, the protesters on my social media. And well, since then, I've been doing this on a regular basis with various social movements such as Black Lives Matter, protest in support to Palestine this summer, against the global security bill in France back in late 2020, and yeah, a few others. I'm currently a student in media, culture, and communication in Lille, in France, and I would like to study journalism in well, to do a master in journalism and become a photojournalist, like a proper one.
Great. Oh, and one question: why have you been photographing protests since you were 15?
Well, it's a bit of it's quite a weird story. I was with a friend at the time, and well, it was during the Yellow Vest uprisings, and we just wanted to see what happened by ourselves. We couldn't really trust social media because, well, people say a lot of stuff on social media. We didn't really trust what was said in the official medias, and yeah, we just went there on the field and saw it for ourselves. And since I always had something for photography, I decided to take some pictures and show the world. I mean, everyone in my family has been taking pictures during vacations and, well, stuff like that, but I always like to go a step further and have some very good looking pictures. At first it wasn't really the case, but I mean, everyone starts somewhere, and with practice and a lot of hard work, I managed to be pretty satisfied with my level. I already had a couple of Black Lives Matter protests, but this one was the first one that actually got a bit violent. A few clashes occurred, and well, I hadn't done any photography since the days before the lockdown. During lockdown, I basically didn't do anything. So yeah, I was a bit rusty, and it was a bit hard to, well, just to get all the habits back. So I wasn't very happy with the photos I was taking that day, aside from a couple of pictures, including the one that is being published. I remember the protest started by gathering people in Belcourt Square, which is a huge square in Lyon. Apparently, it's one of the biggest in Europe. I'm not sure about this information, but it's very big. And I remember it was quite filled. I believe there were a couple of thousand people there, which is pretty big considering that Lyon is usually a pretty calm city during protests, at least at that time. And yeah, there were a few slogans, a few speeches, and then people tried to march and get to the city center. However, the police stopped us very quickly and started tear gassing. And yeah, they shot tear gas grenades, canisters, etc., as well as rubber bullets. Yeah, there were I believe there were 3 shots of rubber-coated rounds to push back protesters into a bit further away from the city center in a less visible area. And at some point, yeah, the cloud of tear gas got really thick, and they started using this water cannon. Yeah, it was the second time I saw the water cannon in Lyon, and it's quite impressive to see this huge truck coming at you, shooting water with very high pressure. And I remember this fact. It was a bit surprising. When the water cannon first started advancing, it wasn't on a huge crowd of protesters or things like that. There were like 5 people and 3 journalists, and they just started advancing on them like it was a huge riot. And we were like, what are you doing? We're not posing any threat. And yeah, the police officers were trying to regroup us all in one place and just push us far away, and eventually disperse the march. France has a huge culture of protests, strikes, etc. So there were the usual people that come to protests, which would be some workers, some punks, some anarchist militants, etc. However, this protest, there were obviously a lot more people. There are many young people, which well, it was cool to see that. Many people, people of color, of course, immigrants in France, from Arab communities, Black communities, also from Asian communities, and yeah, students, some high schoolers as well, and yeah, the usual people who came to protest before that. The police doesn't make any distinctions according to age. I was kind of spared because I was wearing press signs, and they don't really want to get involved with getting violent on the press, even though it happens. But yeah, it makes for a very bad image. But no, the people who were wounded that day were mostly young people. When I'm talking about a press sign, I'm not talking about anything official. I have an armband which says photo on it, and I also have a helmet which has photo written on it. If I get brutalized or anything, everyone will instantly identify me as a journalist. So the police are more reluctant to using violence on me. Well, it's definitely very concerning on an international level. And I'm also a bit concerned personally because I have some family on the Romanian border with Ukraine. But yeah, it's definitely a terrible situation with Russia trying to expand its way into Ukraine and basically take control over it. And I don't think the West is doing anything to appease the situation or to actually defend Ukraine. I know for a fact that Moldova is getting pretty affected since they declared state of emergency this morning, and also have a Russian separatist enclave into the country. Belarus is allied militarily speaking with Russia, so they have Russian troops transiting through there. And I can't speak for Poland. Yeah, I forgot about Poland. Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic, because I haven't been there, and I'm not from there. But from Romania, I can tell that right now there are a lot of refugees coming in, which well, we'll have to accommodate them. And well, there's also this thing with Western troops coming to our territory to defend and maybe deter Russia from going further.
Hey folks, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're interested in learning more about the photographer, you can check out more of their images and stories on our website, scop.io, and buy our book on any major online retailer or your local bookstore. Tune in to our next episode. And don't forget to subscribe. See ya!